Hey, the challenger said, laughing, not looking at anyone in particular. I'm telling you, I'm quicker than him now. Times change. A few heads turned. A camera stopped rolling. That's just how it is, he added, louder, glancing toward Bruce Lee. New speed beats old discipline. Bruce Lee did not move. The set felt locked in place, as if the words had landed before permission was granted to hear them. What follows was never meant to be verified, some later said, because the moment hardened too quickly to soften. Others present later disagreed on what truly happened, only agreeing that the remark could not be taken back. I mean no disrespect, the challenger continued, smiling to keep the room with him. But everyone knows who carries the edge now. A witness paused with a light stand half raised. Bruce Lee remained still, eyes forward, breath held a fraction longer than normal. You hear me, right? The challenger pressed, impatience slipping into his voice. I'm not saying you were never great. Silence answered first. Bruce Lee finally spoke, quietly. Speed changes. That's all? The challenger replied, chuckling. That's the response? The chuckle lingered too long. It's a busy set, Bruce Lee said. Nothing more. The challenger exhaled, words rushing to fill the space. Busy or not, people are watching. They should know where things stand. No one corrected him. No one laughed this time. Those present later claimed that was when certainty cracked. When the set understood this was no longer banter, but pressure placed in public. Some insisted it was misunderstanding. Others said it was the exact instant a legend began. Not because of what happened next, but because something had already been said, and something would now have to answer. So, he said, are we done here or not? Relax, the challenger said, grinning as he stretched his shoulders. This isn't some challenge. I'm just saying what everyone already sees. He stepped lightly across the floor, bouncing once on his toes. Look at that. Still loose, still fast. That's the difference now. A couple of crew members smiled. Someone nodded. I mean, come on, he continued, voice warming to the attention. Styles evolve. Bodies evolve. You don't fight the same way forever. Bruce Lee stood nearby, hands at his sides, gaze unfixed, as if listening without collecting anything. I've trained different, the challenger said louder. More movement, more speed. You adapt, or you get left behind. A witness later claimed the words started stacking on top of each other, each one needing the next to stay standing. I respect what came before, the challenger added quickly, glancing at Bruce Lee. But the future's faster, lighter, smarter. Bruce Lee did not respond. So when people ask, the challenger went on, laughing, yeah, I tell them straight. I'm better suited for now. Someone cleared their throat. No one interrupted. Bruce Lee shifted his weight slightly, said nothing. That silence, the challenger said, pointing lightly. That's not disagreement, right? Bruce Lee's eyes lifted briefly. You're talking a lot, the challenger laughed. Because it needs saying. He moved again, demonstrating a quick turn, stopping just short of Bruce Lee's space. You feel that? Timing, that's the game. Bruce Lee remained still. You see, the challenger continued, voice tightening. This isn't personal. It's just reality. Those present later said this was when performance turned into pressure, when jokes hardened into claims. Each sentence boxed the challenger in, making retreat feel like loss. I'm not asking you to agree, he said. Just don't pretend it's not true. Bruce Lee offered no correction. Mistaking that for permission, the challenger leaned into it. People want to know who's next. The set listened. Stories say ego, not anger, drove what followed, a need to be affirmed out loud, in front of witnesses, even as something in the air suggested the moment should have ended already. But hey, he finished, forcing a smile. If you've got something to say, now's the time. You're quiet, the challenger said, forcing a grin. That's new. He waited, then added, usually people argue back. Bruce Lee didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was even. Arguments don't change speed. That's not what I meant, the challenger said quickly. I'm saying you've got thoughts. Everyone does. Bruce Lee glanced at him. Thoughts pass. The challenger laughed, a little too sharp. See? That right there. That calm thing. It works until it doesn't. No response. So let me put it simpler, the challenger continued, hands moving as he spoke. I move faster now. I recover faster. That's not opinion. Bruce Lee nodded once. You move. That's it? The challenger asked. That's all you hear? It's what you're showing, Bruce Lee said. The challenger exhaled through his nose. You're dodging. A witness later said the room began to lean toward the noise, not because it was louder, but because it was trying harder. I'm not disrespecting you, the challenger went on. I'm explaining where things stand. Bruce Lee looked past him, then back. Standing changes. The challenger blinked. You keep saying things like that. Because you keep talking, Bruce Lee replied. Laughter rippled, then died quickly. So what? The challenger said, voice tightening. You're saying words don't matter? I'm saying timing does, Bruce Lee said. The challenger shifted, repeating himself without realizing it. Timing, speed, adaptability. That's exactly my point. Bruce Lee didn't answer. You hear how quiet it gets when you stop? The challenger said, glancing around. People expect more. Bruce Lee's reply was barely above the set noise. Expectation makes noise. The challenger frowned. You're not taking this seriously. I am, Bruce Lee said. You're rushing. That landed heavier than a longer speech. The challenger laughed again, but it sounded rehearsed. Rushing? I'm relaxed. No response. So if I'm wrong, he pressed, say it. Bruce Lee didn't. The witness later recalled how the pauses stretched, how jokes lost their bounce and came back sharper, as if sharpened by repetition. You know, the challenger said, words piling up, people already compare us. Bruce Lee met his eyes. Comparison is your idea. Silence followed. The challenger swallowed, then smiled. Fine, keep listening. Bruce Lee remained still, as if he had been listening all along, not to the words, but to what was breaking beneath them. You're stepping back, the challenger said, noticing the shift before anyone else named it. Why? Bruce Lee hadn't stepped back. He had angled slightly, no more than inches. I adjusted, Bruce Lee said. To what? The challenger asked quickly. Nothing changed. The challenger moved closer anyway, shortening the distance as if proximity might force clarity. You keep circling around answers, Bruce Lee replied, without raising his voice. Circles reveal rushing. That's convenient, the challenger said, tapping his foot once, then again. You talk like this so you don't have to show anything? A witness later said that tap kept returning, faster each time. I'm showing you, Bruce Lee said. You're not watching. The challenger laughed, sharp and brief. Everyone's watching. He glanced toward the crew, then back. See, this isn't private anymore. Bruce Lee's stance shifted by a fraction, one heel turning, shoulders aligning. Public makes people hurry. I'm not hurrying, the challenger said immediately. I'm ready. He lifted his hands, not to strike, but to demonstrate, repeating the gesture twice, as if the first didn't land. This is control. Bruce Lee answered with half a sentence. Control doesn't repeat. The challenger hesitated, just long enough to notice the quiet. You're baiting. No, Bruce Lee said. I'm waiting. For what? The challenger snapped. For you to stop explaining, Bruce Lee replied. The challenger took another step, impatience showing in the speed of his words. You think calm wins by default. Bruce Lee's eyes stayed level. Calm lets time speak. That doesn't mean anything, the challenger said, though his voice rose slightly. You're dodging again. A witness later recalled how laughter failed to arrive this time. I'm right here, Bruce Lee said. The challenger's gestures grew sharper, cutting the air more than needed. Then answer me straight. Bruce Lee tilted his head. Straight answers end moments. That's the point, the challenger said. End it. Bruce Lee didn't move. The challenger shifted his weight, then shifted it back, certainty chasing itself. You keep slowing this down. I'm keeping it from breaking, Bruce Lee said. The words unsettled him. The challenger looked around once more, as if checking whether the room was still with him. Nothing's breaking. Those present later said the space felt tighter anyway, as if the set itself leaned inward. "You feel that?" the challenger asked, forcing a grin. "That's pressure," Bruce Lee replied softly. "Pressure reveals timing." The challenger swallowed, then spoke faster. "Then let's see whose timing holds." He took position, breath quickening just enough to notice. "Don't blink," he said, forcing the last word out with confidence that arrived a fraction too soon. "Watch closely," the challenger said, voice sharpened by certainty. This is where speed speaks for itself. He moved without waiting for agreement, confidence carrying him forward as if the outcome had already been decided. What happened next was never meant to be verified. Those present later disagreed on what truly happened, not because it was dramatic, but because it was brief enough to slip between explanations. "I'm not striking," the challenger said, mid-motion, words chasing his body. "I'm proving a point." Bruce Lee didn't answer. "See?" the challenger added, committing now. "You can't read this fast enough." Bruce Lee shifted before the sentence finished. It wasn't a step, according to some. Others said it was a turn. All agreed it happened earlier than expected. The challenger felt his balance break, and his breath leave him in a sharp, involuntary sound. Everything stopped. No, the challenger said immediately, waving one hand. That wasn't anything. Bruce Lee's palm was already gone from the space it had briefly occupied. "That was just positioning," the challenger continued, speaking quickly to regain rhythm. "You moved first, that's all." Bruce Lee lowered his hands. "You started." "That's what I'm saying," the challenger replied. "You anticipated." A witness later claimed there was no impact worth naming, only a sudden stillness that made the noise return too loudly. "I wasn't off balance," the challenger insisted. "I just reset." Bruce Lee said nothing. "You felt that, though," the challenger pressed. "You felt how fast it was." Bruce Lee met his eyes. "You felt it." The challenger laughed once, short and tight. Everyone feels something in close range. No one laughed with him. "That wasn't a strike," he repeated. "Say it." Bruce Lee spoke softly. "It didn't need to be." The challenger stepped back, then forward again, searching for the moment that had already passed. "You didn't win anything." Bruce Lee shook his head slightly. "There was nothing to win." "That's convenient," the challenger said, louder. "You interrupt and call it philosophy." "I interrupted timing," Bruce Lee replied. The challenger swallowed, then talked faster. "Timing, positioning, balance, fine. But speed was still there." Bruce Lee nodded once. Speed arrived. "And?" the challenger demanded. "And left," Bruce Lee said. Those present later argued about that line, about whether it was even spoken then or added later, because memory began changing almost immediately. "You think that proves something?" the challenger said. "It doesn't." Bruce Lee didn't respond. "It was 5 seconds," the challenger continued, reclaiming ground with words. 5 seconds mean nothing." Bruce Lee stepped back fully now, ending the space. 5 seconds is enough. Silence followed, heavy and unfinished. The challenger looked around, forcing a smile. "You see, nothing happened." No one answered. "So," he said, louder than before, "are we clear now?" "That was nothing," the challenger said immediately, laughter arriving half a beat late. "You all saw that, right?" A few crew members chuckled, uncertain. "I mean, that happens all the time," he continued, waving it off. "Close space, misread angle. No big deal." Bruce Lee stood relaxed, hands lowering as if concluding something private. "I wasn't testing you," the challenger added quickly. "Just showing movement." Bruce Lee nodded once. "I know." "That nod," the challenger said, smiling too hard. "See, that's agreement." Bruce Lee didn't correct him. Someone behind the camera cleared their throat. The set began to breathe again, cables shifting, a light clicking back on. "You're still sharp," the challenger went on, softer now. "I'll give you that." Bruce Lee replied quietly. "Sharpness isn't the point." The challenger laughed again, this time lighter. "Always the teacher." "I didn't teach," Bruce Lee said. "We stopped." That's what I mean, the challenger replied. Mutual stop. Bruce Lee let the words pass. Those present later disagreed on what that silence meant. Some called it restraint, others called it mercy. Look, the challenger said, glancing around, lowering his voice just enough to be heard. No disrespect earlier, got carried away. Bruce Lee inclined his head. It happens. The challenger exhaled, relief mixing with embarrassment. Crowds do that. Bruce Lee said nothing. So, the challenger added, forcing humor back in, guess I owe you coffee for almost knocking myself over. A few laughs landed this time. Bruce Lee allowed a faint smile. Coffee is fine. That was all. The challenger straightened, nodding as if sealing the moment. Good. Then we're good. Bruce Lee stepped away, returning to his mark without ceremony. The set resumed its rhythm, but witnesses later said it sounded different, as if something had been removed and not replaced. I didn't lose balance, the challenger said once more, quieter now, more to himself than anyone. Just misjudged. No one answered. Some remembered an apology hidden in humor. Others remembered denial dressed as confidence. Bruce Lee offered no clarification. That absence became the story's shape, leaving space for pride, for embarrassment, for respect, depending on who told it later. The challenger laughed one last time, light and unresolved, as if closing a door that didn't quite shut. Bruce Lee didn't look back, and the set kept working, carrying on around a moment that refused to settle into certainty. They keep asking me about it, the challenger later said, smiling whenever the story surfaced. People love drama. Some who heard him repeat it remembered an apology hidden inside that smile. Others heard dismissal. It was nothing, he would add, just timing. Anyone could misread it. Those present later disagreed. Some claimed Bruce Lee walked away without a word. Others insisted he nodded, or smiled, or said something too quiet to carry. What followed was never meant to be verified, and that uncertainty became the fuel. He didn't need to say anything, one witness reportedly told another. That was the point. The challenger, when pressed, kept talking. You know how sets are, he said. Crowds exaggerate. Bruce Lee offered no version of events. His silence grew larger with distance, expanding to fill whatever shape the story needed. In retellings, his restraint became wisdom, or mercy, or strategy, depending on who spoke. The challenger's words softened over time. I respect him, he would say later. Always did. Some believed him. Some didn't. What endured was not proof, but implication. A moment too brief to frame became a symbol argued over because it refused certainty. 5 seconds stretched into years of discussion, less about who was better, more about how easily confidence can overreach when it demands an audience. So, yeah, the challenger would finish, laughing lightly. People can believe what they want, and maybe that was why the story survived, not as record, but as rumor shaped into legend, reminding those who heard it that timing leaves marks words never can.